Human Touch. This is a quote given by Newsday upon the publication of Daniel Boorstin's The Discoverers. The Discoverers is one of a trilogy, written by Daniel Boorstin that dove into the saga of human exploration and invention. But in order to know more about the Discoverers, we first must learn more about its author. Daniel Boorstin was a complex figure. He was a librarian at the Library of Congress, a communist, an author, and a devout Jew. Boorstin's views of history also were intricate as well. He emphasized continuities over change, especially regarding American history. He believed American history was guarded more of what was agreed upon versus disagreed upon, and as a communist, he was often shocked by American vulgarities. Knowing this, some of Boorstin's personal life and preferences become prevalent in his writings. Quote, "This makes Discoverers not only a factual book, it is Boorstin's view of the story of the discoveries of the world. Not only his preferences the book, but favoritism. One of his favorite characters and inventors and discoverers is Christopher Columbus. Columbus is mentioned over 300 times in the book The Discoverers, and sometimes, not always, at the best moment. He credits Christopher Columbus for a part of Ptolemy's discovery, even though Columbus came over centuries later. But this favoritism leaks into bias, especially when it comes to his religion. The success of Jews, Jewish scholars, and certain mentors are mentioned over 40 times in Index alone. This is a stark contrast to Christian Science. Christianity is often blamed for global exploration, while Jewish scholars are continually praised. Quote, "Those Jews of skill were learning a reward of that of the kings of Aragon." He calls the Jews, the scholars, kings and jewels. This is a stark contrast to what he calls the Christians later on. He said it is no accident that the Jews played a leading role in the liberation of the Europeans from slavery in Christian geography. He calls the Christian slaves while the Jews are jewels. Quote, "Christian faith and dogma suppress the useful image of the world that has been so slowly, so painfully, so scrupulously drawn out by ancient cartographers. The Christians are blamed for the slowing progress of the world, while the Jews are the beaming pride." While authors often use input bias in their books, it doesn't have a place in historical text. This helps the viewer lose sight of Boorstin's mission, to educate on the discoveries of the world and the heroes that led to it. Any human written text is skewed with bias and misinformation. But is history with a human touch really pure history? Does his bias cause the viewer to miss the point he's trying to make? Does the magnitude of his research outweigh his biased writings? All these questions can only be answered by his readers. While Daniel Boorstin's Discoverers is a well-researched, planned out, and thought-out book, I believe there's too much human touch in his historic text.